Prologue, The Circle of Life. An old man lived in the desert all alone. He had long white hair and a rugged map-like wrinkled face. There were scars, too, that told of difficult times. The people said you could find your way, whatever it was you were seeking, by looking at the map of his face. If you had a question, all you had to do was go sit quietly in the circle of his home and watch the fire on his face, and you would get an answer. Sometimes he would speak the answer without you asking anything. Nobody knew how old he was. It seemed at some point he had stopped growing old, while the aging died around him. It seemed like he had been there forever. He was not Navajo, but he lived in a Navajo hogan, because it was best suited for the desert with its thick, windowless adobe walls. It kept the heat inside in the winter and the cold outside. In the summer, it kept the cool inside and the heat outside. It gave him comfort. He loved his home. His name was Lomakayu, and he stood over the open grave of Cheyenne, his dead animal friend, singing his wolf death song. The tears trembled and shook as they rolled down his wrinkled-ridden face and followed the deeper grooves like snow, melting and feeding the rivers of life. It didn't get any easier, this losing what you love. How can you not love what you love? How can losing what you love be swept away by philosophical thoughts of an afterlife? He had pondered while digging Cheyenne's grave. He had dug a 4-foot deep 3x4 hole in the ground a short ways from his hogan. The wind kept blowing the sand in his face as he tossed it to the sides of the grave with the shovel. He would pause and spit the sand grains out of his mouth and clear his nostrils with a strong snort. His other wolf dog, Hantayo, was sitting in the shade watching him. He didn't seem too interested in Cheyenne's stiff body. A few feet from him, or in Lomakayu's grunting and groaning as he hefted one shovelful after another. He was too busy, snapping at flies and licking his paws. But Cheyenne had been his long-time companion, and even though he might not show the loss in an obvious way when they went for a walk that morning, he seemed a bit slow and disoriented, older somehow. Even though Lomakayu knew his own presence was an eternal sun, he also knew when you care for and love a life, a living being, there is a relationship to this unique consciousness, this individual expression of the one. Death brings a loss of that living relationship. You can't think that away. You can't run from your loss, because your losses will pile up and chase after you like a boulder of sandstone rolling downhill behind you, gathering more sand as your losses accumulate. What you keep running away from sometimes by hanging on to what is gone are the feelings of your own soul, which is your soul. You can trap them in a tight fist of clinging and block the way to your true self. Your soul is the gateway to the eternal sun. Better to turn and face the great boulder of your pain with grounded compassion so that great rock of sandstone can return to its original, liberated sparkle of flowing sand. The flow. Surrender to the flow. This was his way, the only way he knew anymore. A hummingbird lingered for a long moment over the open grave just as Lomakayu finished singing. It seemed like the hummingbird was urging him to complete his task. At first it brought a smile through his tears and then frowned as he hesitated with the shovel in his hands. He did not want to pour that first shovelful of dirt over Cheyenne. "I don't want to," he muttered to the hummingbird, who darted off. Then he drove the tip of the shovel into the loose earth he had taken out of the hole. Lomakayu gently let the dirt rain down on Cheyenne and he started weeping so hard he almost dropped the shovel. He kept shoveling and singing louder and stronger with each shovel full. I am what I am, a wolf spirit again, and I'll be with you always, my friend. In my life I was free. You just let me be, wild, woolly, and true. Now it's all up to you, to be wild and true. When the hole was filled, he leveled out the soil with his hands and remained kneeling, touching the soft earth. It was dead quiet, and then slowly it became quiet with rabbits stirring in the bushes and quail strutting about. The quiet of life. Lomakayu rose to his feet, dusted his hands, and turned to Hantayo. He was just calmly sitting there dozing. Is there something you know that I don't know? Lomakayu asked Hantayo. 3 years later, he stood over another 4-foot-deep hole right next to Cheyenne, staring at the empty space where he would lay Hantayo. Hantayo means clear the way, and he had helped clear the way for many suffering people who had come to Lomakayu for counseling and healing. Hantayo would give them big dog licks all over their face and affectionately deposit all 100 pounds of his weight in their laps. Many of these people would speak of Hantayo visiting them in their dreams after they returned home. He had one blue eye and one brown eye, reflecting the sky and the earth. He helped people through his compassion by bringing them into the big eye that connects heaven and earth. He was a medicine dog, just as Cheyenne was. A medicine of one dog. For Lomakayu, the moment of beginning to move the earth over the stiff, lifeless body of his beloved friends was a moment of great pause. It was as if the weight of 4 by 6 cubic pounds of dirt was sitting on him. Finally, he climbed down into the hole, where Hantayo's pure white body lay, and began gracefully sweeping the moist earth over the body. The touch of the earth invoked his tears as he sang once again, I am what I am, a wolf spirit again. A few months later he lay in his bed, half asleep in the middle of the night with Beauty next to him on the bed and Sundance just below her. He had given them nicknames after the 2 Hopi twins who keep the world in balance at the North and South Poles. Pokwanhoya, Beauty, was a female black and white brindled wolf dog, and Palongahoya, Sundance, was a male that looked like a gray and black-faced bear, but his body was the color of a Palomino horse. In their balancing, they loved each other, pawing and playing, sniffing each other's privates, cleaning each other with the gentle chewing they cleaned themselves with. He loved the land he woke up to at dawn, his true home without walls that extended infinitely in all directions. When he looked in the 4 directions, each one was anchored by the sacred presence, a mountain, a pyramid-shaped hill, a red rock formation that stood like an eagle, an opposite Bear Mountain, whose flat back you could walk on. This was his visible sacred universe that reflected the infinite. For 50 years, he had not strayed more than a few miles from this sacred center. He lived at the center of all things, and it was his intention to give that to the whole world by his own simple daily actions. He loved the wind and its many voices. He talked to the wind like an old friend, and it was an old friend, for he remembered the touch of the wind when he remembered his child self on top of Bear Mountain. He was not Hopi, but he liked many of the Hopi beliefs. When he looked at the clouds coming toward him, he saw the Kachina spirits bringing the fertility of rain. When he looked at the clouds, he saw all the ancestors watching over the people, and it made him smile. He didn't need to believe it was truth in order to feel safe in the world. He just allowed the gift of the clouds to have many forms and magic. He knew it was his own mind he saw, for he always stood beyond it as the pure blue sky to all things. He thought, This is who I am. But why not enjoy all this wondrous beauty? When you live in the center of the circle in which all things move, all things get to be real, born from the One. Everywhere he looked, he saw giving and receiving. All life seemed to be about this giving and receiving. Where there was suffering and tragedy, it seemed this natural cycle had been broken. As he sat and watched the stars one night, he thought to himself, "When I cry, I am receiving. I receive my own tears like blessed rain from the sky of being. If I can receive these tears, the spring within my heart flows, and the flow washes over me. To receive is to allow with open arms, to allow the sad, the grief-stricken, the unbelievable pain uncomprehended, and the joy too, to rhythm through me and sing into the very atmosphere of my life. When I laugh, I am giving. So let me give this laughter freely, freely as something that quakes through the air and touches others and myself. Freely as the raven cawing with laughter as he rides the wind. Let me ride the wind of my laughter, and let the rivulets of my tears course down the cheeks of this very land that is me. When I cry, I am giving. In my surrender, something is given forth. If I fall to the earth, my tears touch the earth. If someone is there with me, they are giving me their presence, and I am giving them a moment in my life. We are both giving, and we are both receiving. When I laugh, I am receiving a great tickling from within me, a good shaking up that makes me breathe. I am laughing life into myself. When I give, I am giving. When I receive, I am receiving. True giving comes from truly receiving. This is beyond the ideas of these two actions. One is active and the other passive. One is doing and one is being. When you are anchored in your being, you are in the undistinguishable flow of giving and receiving. You are the medicine of the great mystery. Giving and receiving are ideas. Effortless giving is just being. Effortless receiving is just being. It's being the circle that is where these two are one. I give up these ideas and just be open to giving effortlessly and receiving easily. I give my thanks to this night sky that all humans through all time have gazed upon. What a gift this life is when you can give and receive. When there is great truth to what you want, there will be great truth to what you give. Invitation. Wait no more. Refuse to be who you are not, and be who you are. My name is Lomakayu. It means everything finished well. I live in the desert, and the desert lives in me. I am forever. But one day this flesh and bone, blood and thought, this I, will return to the five elements. Death seems far away until it's close. I live as if this far away is always close at hand, and this now is the first and last moment. So I write this with the sense that when it's finished, I am finished. I cannot tell you what it means. I can only tell you about this now, not the next now. It's simple. I don't know. That is the essence of the living ground we share, the ultimate mysterious I don't know. So please share this intimate bread of life with me. Your story is mine. I am above no single one. On my path of the medicine of one, all the stories of humanity and individual humanness are mine. I invite you to do the same. Stand above no one. Let everyone's story be your story as movements in the one that you are, as the circle of the earth, the sun, the moon, and the cycle of life. And that will be the end of the stories of suffering, for they move within you, and you are what they move in. You are what a thought, an emotion, a physical gesture, a divine inspiration moves through. It's simple. You're quiet, present now. This now that I use the idea and the feeling of a circle to lead you to is the medicine of one. I love being. I love the sky and the sun, the river and the mountains, the canyons and the trees. I love red, yellow, black, blue, and the white that holds them all. I love all the animals, and I have had many who were my dearest friends precede me in this return home. I loved them. I cared for them. And many of them died in my arms, sometimes as my own act of mercy for them. Losing what I love is not easy. But I love being, and being in this human form is a wondrous thing. It's a wondrous thing. But we do lose what we love, and there is pain. You might ask, how do I have a steady ground of peace in spite of loss, pain, and tragedy? How do I touch my infinite, eternal self and still lovingly move through this sensuous world and enjoy it? How do I live in two worlds in the same moment? The desert scape goes from green to brown and back to green, from bright yellow flowers to lavender, to white, to empty. I, too, must surrender to these seasonal changes which have a cycle like the movement of the sun, a cycle which is timely, but in a timeless way. I, too, must surrender to the empty without rushing in to fill it. I am speaking of the empty, when the feeling of home is shaken apart along with my identity. The empty, when my closest, constant companion dies. The empty, when I am disappointed in myself. The empty, knowing that no one can know my world of experience no matter how precisely I might try to share its detail of feeling, no matter how many times they might smile and nod their head. Ah, the empty endlessness of our losses, which, if fully felt, invokes the rain from the sky and transforms the barren winter into living spring. If we can relax and let life move through us, the waves of empty invoke their own fullness. Breathe out fully, and breathing in fully is inevitable. This kind of breath is a circle. This circle of breath establishes our own self-compassion to that which moves within us. The medicine of one invokes the sacredness of a circle in the same way that it has been used to symbolize God and to create sacred places of circular form throughout history and cultures all over the world. It invokes the circle to embody the idea of oneness as circles within circles on into infinity. Most importantly, it invokes the spacious feeling of a circle as a way to talk about your own quiet, compassionate presence that is this sacred oneness. Even the word one begins with the circle. Our pain, our history, our memories, our emotions, some constantly in reaction and others frozen, can stand in the way to this feeling of presence and connection. They become like the wall of a castle, which both fortifies us and imprisons us. This prison becomes our own separated world that nobody knows. In this separateness, we are separated from our true self. We have allowed this wall of protection to own us, but we must own the heavy stones of our history as a big-hearted circle. Life is honored, celebrated, and enjoyed. It is not a way station and in-between state on the way to reality. Life moves within the one true reality that is embodied as the circle. The world is within us, because the world is what we see, and what each of us sees is unique. It's unique because no one has the same past and experience. Even with two or more people who live through the same event, the inner experience can never be exactly the same. There are so many moments we all have, some subtle and some traumatic, where this movement of life is denied. We breathe in and hold our breath, as if gathering these moments in our hearts and bodies where they sit like a weight waiting for our love, waiting for us to reverse the unconscious living of our life from a place of control and survival, and the conscious judgments and regrets we forcefully hold against ourselves. Medicine of One is more like a path than a teaching, because in walking it, you invoke the Guru within. As you walk it, there must be the desire to live at the center of the peace that you are. In the journey to become free of all fears and desires, this one desire remains until it, too, vanishes effortlessly. My purpose is to incite and inspire you to take this walk. Walk with me as I share what I have learned from the desert and the wisdom teachings of our world. Walk it not for a few months or years, but walk it as a way of life. As a way of life, the medicine of One is the path of self-love and compassion, a godly love that is the circle. And as that circle of life, it is incapable of judgment. It's about your presence as an unmoving space that allows all movements. In the end, your earnest commitment is to the path of your own truth. This truth is not about beliefs or ideas. It's about a knowing that is the experience of who you really are. So as you walk your path, let your beliefs serve you and fall away like autumn leaves in the wind that reveal the essential thrust of the tree, the essential thrust of you in this world. Dare to break free of the prison your mind creates. For hell is the human mind from which there is no exit, unless you stop believing what the mind thinks. Wait no more. Dare to be free and be the compassionate circle of One. Refuse to be who you are not, and be who you are. The Quiet One. Here in this land are my sacred scriptures that speak to me in the language of silence. I sit here at the center of the circle and give it all up to the Quiet One. Even my own personal quiet, I surrender. The medicine of One has grown from the very elemental forces of this land, a land of the greatest variety of landscapes, from vanilla-scented ponderosa pine forest to the drought-resistant mesquite, to the pinyon juniper woodlands, to the verdant paths of river and creeks, rich with sycamore, cottonwood, walnut, and hackberry, and canyons of red, buff, white, orange, and yellow, cliffs, mountains, buttes, mesas, and pyramid-like cones thrust forth with the memories of ancient landscapes, from oceans to floodplains, from sand dunes to lakes. Often when the wind blows, it feels as if it is coming up off the ocean. And so it is for me, the ocean of being, the ocean of the One. A web of life where all that is unique in expression is resonant with the one ocean, just as one drop of water has the whole ocean within it. The Hopis and their ancestors have been the caretakers of this land 1,000 years or more. The Hopi believed the earth was created when the All-Creator was gazing at the earth from deep space, wondering what to do with it. He decided to send his helper, Spider-Woman, there to set life in motion. When she arrived, she scooped up 2 handfuls of earth and gifted her saliva into each hand. This saliva is the life force. This spit is water. Water is precious in these desert lands. From this action, Pokwan Hoya and Polangwa Hoya, the 2 twin heroes, were birthed in her hands. Pokwan Hoya went to the North Pole. He was a magician of shape, form, and structure, the web of life from which things emerge in harmony and balance. Polangwa Hoya went to the South Pole. He was the magician of music and vibration, which resonates and energizes structure and form to give birth to life on the planet. Polangwa Hoya went into deep meditation, searching throughout the universe for the heartbeat of the Great Spirit. When he found it, he began to beat his drum, drawing that which gives movement and life to all things to the heart of the earth, the center. At this center was a special crystalline rock that dispersed this life force to the surface of the earth, where it gave birth to all life. Those places on the earth where the drumbeat is strongest are the sacred places, the doorways, where the web of life can be entered and joined with, where we, as a human expression of that original saliva of the divine, can return closer to home, closer to the source, closer to the great mystery. I have many sacred places where this drumbeat speaks to me. My body of earth, water, air, and fire tells me where they are, not my mind. Over the course of many years, the more time I give to just being there, the more some strange, magical something happens. It's as if some kind of mutual transmission of the power of the One is exchanged. I am infused, and the place is infused, without any effort from either one of us. After all, what more could the river or canyon do than just be? What more can I do? What greater gift can I give than to just be, to just live at the center, as harmony and balance, allowing the force to move through my physical and spiritual spine, and flowering outward as my unique heartfulness into the world. The land is full of songs. It sings to me as a grand symphony in its vastness, and every secret little place holds a melody, all born from the single harmonic of the quiet One. It teaches me in its silent singing. It's not something I hear with my ears. It comes from listening with my heart, whose very rhythm beats in the harmonic ocean. My body is just a cup dipped in this ocean, dripping with the tears of individuality. These gurus of the southwest land of Arizona have been my greatest influences towards the birthing of this medicine of One. But I also pay homage to all the wisdom teachings that have been birthed by that original saliva of the divine, sprung from the sacred web we are all part of. From Buddha to Ramana Maharshi, from the Aborigines of Australia to the Hopi and Navajo of the Southwest, to mention only a few. I give thanks to their special gift that came into manifestation as the life force vibrated through the spine of their life. That spine is part of Pokwan Hoya's gift of form, unique structure and expression. The music of the spheres is Polangwa Hoya's gift, brought forth and delivered to the earth by his deep listening. I consider it a truth that there are places on this earth that carry a song that is in deep resonance to the song of who we are. There can be many of these places on the earth that carry the feeling of home. It feels like home, and it helps carry us home to the self. Many enlightened beings have been drawn to a single mountain, valley, or river where they never strayed, as if never straying from their deepest self. Part of the journey of the labyrinth is about arriving at that physical place as well. Often, as in my case, it has to wait until experience and exploration have completed themselves, and your greatest commitment is to peace. Sometimes, the choice of home is about the earthly family of friends and relatives. Whatever the choice, make sure that it is what allows you to have peace and live at the center of your truest home of the heart. And be patient, meeting your experiences fully as the flow, rather than trying to willfully place that final piece at the center. If done willfully, it won't fit. The quiet one of the circle. So many places, so many songs, so many forms of the quiet, and yet one silent presence as I commune with the earth. This quiet is the very pulsing heart of the medicine of one. It is the deepest teaching of this earth. Only I must choose to remember, and in this remembrance I am home. Here in this land are my sacred scriptures that speak to me in the language of silence. I sit here at the center of the circle and give it all up to the quiet one. Even my own personal quiet, I surrender. The circle is always there, for the circle lives within me. I am this circle of presence. But these sacred circles in the desert make it easier to not be distracted by the demands of everyday life. I step into them naked of all identity, the same as the rock I sit upon. I sit with the finger of my mind pointing at my own presence, the feeling of it, and something in me lets go, allowing something deeper to rise to the surface. It's like a sigh of absolute trust that settles me down, fills me as a compassionate presence, and I am at rest on the foundation of all that is. Always remember you are the circle. You are the quiet one that the tears, the rage, the terror move in. You are the circle that momentary happiness, creative thinking, falling in love, and passionate drive move in. You are the quiet one that the mind moves within, whether they are thoughts that soar to the greatest heights or tumble to the great lows. Into this compassionate presence invite all your fears, hopes, worries, and all your dreams, laughter, joy. As this circle, as that quiet one, you are peace and bliss, and nothing is thrown out of the circle of your love. Let the gurus of the earth teach you, whether it's a tree, the ocean, a mountain, a river, a canyon, a butterfly, or a bird. Abide in the oneness you share with life. While you dwell in an elemental body as an individual creation of the one, be alive and live. Be willing to be the whole world and love this world of your humanity. The earth teaches us how to engage our own pain and pleasure. As a guru, it reflects to me who I really am and teaches me how to engage the beauty and the death of life. She breathes and allows, whether it's a still mirror of water reflecting a golden sunset or an earthquake sending a giant wave of destruction toward the shoreline. Support, touch, and embrace all that moves within you as the unconditionally loving mother, as I, the earth, support you. She whispers. In this living at the center, you are the effortless receiving and giving of compassion and love that is freedom. Other than living from this center place, I give up all ideas about myself as the doer of anything. It is done, and it gets done. And what is done without my interference. The spine of my life is open to the flow. The unique, creative will is the hollow bone called Lomakayu. Even this me as a thinking entity is sourced not from identity, but from the eyelessness. The very words of this book are authored through Lomakayu, not by Lomakayu. So let the signature at the end simply be, everything finished well.